short out wide for Vincent Colgan, and Belden Ord won the Cal Isuzu. Mongolian Marshall and Igraine, but it's the Marshall. Mongolian Marshall wins the Waikato Cup.
Christmas bells and alarm bells ringing in unison at Te Rapa yesterday. An extraordinary day of racing in what's been a breathless week for the Thoroughbred Code. An opportunity to draw breath now and look back on, well, in particular Te Rapa to start with, but a man whose initials are BS, but there's none of that with Bruce Sherwin. It's all about form and facts and analysis. Good morning.
Yeah, where do I go with that? Yeah, busy days racing yesterday, 3 meetings in the country, some really good racing, Mark, and that Te Rapa track got an A-star mark of approval after the rain. It was playing fair through the day, so good stuff.
And we had 2 fire alarms there on track, which meant 2 evacuations, a race delay, and an extraordinary storm that we'll touch on as well. Alicia Collett to address the tall, white, ageing male imbalance as best we possibly can. Good morning.
How are we? Good.
Yeah. Look, have you been in situations like that before where you've had evacuations, delays to races that you're probably quite keyed up for, and then changing not only track but weather conditions?
Yeah, you've got to change tactics, and those sort of things do happen, but you can't really stop nature. Obviously, that's something that happens. It is safe though, like they did, to delay the race and just make sure the track was fine. So you do prepare yourself for those sort of things. Change in tactics do happen, but it's one of the things that you can't do anything about.
Well, the track started as a dead 5. It very quickly went to a dead 4, and of course later, after the storm, it went back to a dead 6 for the final Group 3 on the card. But the first Group 3 is what we're going to have a look at now, and that is the Sky City Hamilton Waikato Cup. And here, Bruce, I was on 3 weeks ago, and we saw Igraine beating Mongolian Marshall at Pukekohe in the Counties Cup, but a reverse yesterday.
Yeah, and a reverse perhaps of tactics as well. The hunter and the prey, Igraine going forward and Mongolian Marshall hunting him down. 5 to Midnight was the defending champion. Let's take up the closing stages.
Igraine, the leader, Mongolian Marshall out in the centre. In behind them now, 5 to Midnight's rallying. Then came Excalibur and he's Cavalier. It's Mongolian Marshall in front. 5 to Midnight. Igraine is trying to lift up off the deck. Mongolian Marshall and Igraine. And then 5 to Midnight, but it's the Marshall. Mongolian Marshall wins the Waikato Cup. Second over. Whereas they went across was...
So Bruce, Igraine took up the lead there and actually looked quite comfortable in the lead, to be fair, but I guess it made her vulnerable as well.
It did. They've run a very good sectional, 35.43, which is one of the quicker on the day, and especially given it's a 1.5 mile race. Igraine, you spoke with Sam Collett, cousin Alicia. It wasn't the absolute plan to head to the front. It wasn't out of the question, but...
It wasn't out of the question, as he's won from the front before, but she sort of just got left vulnerable, had to go forward.
There's not much tempo.
No tempo. She's dictated the race from in front the best she could possibly. The horse hasn't got a great sprint, she said. She preferred to roll in from the 800 and put the pressure on like she did. But Mongolian Marshall just was travelling too good around the corner. He has a better sprint than, than the horse does.
So Igraine looks to control it off the front, and the sectionals suggest she got away with a pretty easy time with a quick run home, which adds merit to the Mongolian Marshall coming from off the speed to run her down. Here's the head-on of the closing. So how good's 5 to Midnight going under 60 kilos?
Seriously.
Very tough.
So he's going terrific, but Mongolian Marshall, and speaking with Andrew Forsman this morning, he was saying that they weren't sure he was going to run the trip, but he's run it out brilliantly. Really good turn of foot at the end of the 2,400 metres to run down Igraine.
And Alicia, how different do you think the slow 7 at Pukekohe when Igraine won? Obviously a better track when they ran that and was a dead 4. So do you think that made much difference?
Massive difference, yeah. It didn't allow a Mongolian Marshall to sprint as well at Counties. It really just took that effect off him. And going into that race yesterday, the better surface, you could tell when he was travelling around the corner with the horse underneath of him that he was going to sprint like he did. It definitely suited Igraine that day at Counties, but next race might be different circumstances again, so it's going to be interesting to see on a different track and different tracks what happens.
Let's hear from the winning connections after the Waikato Cup.
Lovely ride from Matthew Cameron. He's just been able to outsprint them in the last 600 metres.
Yeah, no, that was the plan, just to hold him up a bit so he could sprint, and he sprinted well enough.
Yeah, he obviously had really improved since Pukekohe.
Yeah, we'd hope so, but the track might have tipped him a wee bit of Pukekohe, but the winner, Ingrain, was far too good that day.
Yeah, obviously the step up to 2,400 metres, it was a bit of a query going into it. Were you confident that you would see out a strong sort of mile and a half?
I've got to be honest and say, you know, I've been wondering if he's a 2,000 metre horse. He did run 7th or 8th in the AJC Derby, came from well back. He drew bad barrier, and Craig Williams said to me, the horse will get the trip all right, but he's quite brilliant when he goes over a mile, and we've sort of wondered, you know, maybe he's... But he did it today.
Exactly. What's next for him, Murray?
I don't know. We'll have to go home and think about that. But he is a lovely horse, a quality horse. Cost Mr. Wolf a bit of money, but thank goodness he's there.
Yeah, nice to be able to do those in the Mongolian Kankanas you had so much success for as well.
Yeah, no, those colours got a great liking for them.
Yeah, good on you, and congratulations for more success on this day, Murray.
Thank you.
Matt, you've managed to turn the tables on iGrain. Just tell us about the run that you got with Mongolian Marshal.
Yeah, I had a super run. He jumped out the gates nicely, slotted into a nice position. I could see iGrain the whole time. He was running along nicely. You know, it was a beautiful clip, and you know, I knew at the 600 if I didn't move without really getting stuck into my horse to chase it, I had to be as close as I can without doing too much work. Obviously, knowing my horse could be suspect at the distance, but I think on the better track, my horse is just a little bit too brilliant for iGrain this time. iGrain had the wet track in its favour last time, but no, it's good to get the win on the board with the horse, and he's a horse who's going to be a lovely horse going forward.
So it really was throw caution to the wind. He's got to get the 2,400 metres. Let's just find out.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, the Baker Forsman team, you know, you don't die wondering. And I knew I got to the 100, and I had the good track on my side, and he had that nice kick, and he changed the outside leg and sprinted well. So iGrain still whacked away quite nicely next to me, but I think my horse just got a little bit faster on the better track, so it's a good win for him.
Is he a 2,400 metre horse in your view, or is he going to be better at 2,000 metres, or maybe even less?
It's hard to tell because he's doing it so easily today, but you take the first 3 horses out of the race, you know, you can't really get too much of a form guide along the other horses, but you know, if he can do that again in a top race and get a cosy run, like I say, he's down in the weights, you know, he's probably going to get more and more points and go up further, but I think he could be a brilliant miler or a nice 2,000 metre horse around Ellerslie. It's the kind of horse he could be, but you know, while he's winning these 2,400 metre races, you know, Murray and Andrew will soon push to the boundary and keep him going.
Matt Cameron there talking about Mongolian Marshal, so the 2,400 metre question mark, probably we can rub that out now, Bruce. Yeah. And I know you've been talking to the camp this morning. Yeah,
Andrew Forsman suggesting that City of Auckland Cup's his next aim, obviously. After that, it probably dictates whether he stays in New Zealand for the autumn or heads to Australia. Others, I thought Excalibur much better, looking towards a Wellington Cup, and 5 to midnight, he'll probably be carrying top weight again in the City of Auckland Cup, but with those other horses coming up in the handicaps, he's going to be a bit closer to them, Alicia.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a huge run yesterday, an honest, tough run, and all you really need is the pull in the weights for him, and then he will be competitive again.
Sure. Yeah, he was the defending champ, and he did an outstanding job of trying to defend that title. Another one who's up in the weights and seems to be struggling with it, Bruce, is Maygrove. Was 3 wide without cover. They
put it down the forgive in terms of he was 3 wide the trip, so you couldn't really make an analysis off that.
Let's get some more insight into the beaten runners there in the Waikato Cup.
Sam, what'd you make of that?
Really wrapped with her run today. She's rolled forward from her wide draw and set a fairly even tempo and just managed to be rolled down by Matt today. The better track conditions have probably aided his horse, and it's just sprinted a little bit better on top of the ground, but she was very brave.
Jonathan, what'd you make of that?
Yeah, very brave run under the big weight, 60 kilos. He's gone super, and I believe his next run will be in the Sky City, which he drops down to 58.5, so that'll help him a little bit more than what he carried today, and I think it'd be a fairly good show next up.
Sam, what'd you make of that?
Yeah, it was a super run. Obviously got back quite a bit, but got a nice drag into it by the winner, and you know, finished off nicely. I thought we were going to run second, but then he just sort of whacks away the last little bit. But I think if he got a decent draw, he can probably just put himself that little bit closer, and don't think he'll have trouble over 2 miles.
So, thoughts there, and now we turn our attention to the City of Auckland Cup at the new year, and there are options available to you, both winning market and also futures top 3 as well, option 1976, and the horses we've been talking about here, Bruce, clearly at the top of the market, Mongolian Marshal 350, iGrain at $4.50, 5 to midnight 7 alongside Glory Days.
Yeah, Giovanni Canaletto spoke with Lance O'Sullivan late yesterday. They're more heading towards the Ritual Mile, so I wouldn't be playing that. They seem to think he's going to take a little while to reach his peak after the 2-year break, but outside of that, I can't see a lot of value. I think it's a very well structured market there with Mongolian Marshal at the top, iGrain 450, Excalibur obviously pretty good again yesterday, but whether he can reach them in a race like that, or Wellington Cup might be more his caper.
So, Alicia, we are looking at, small fields at the moment for these runners. Obviously, bigger fields coming up, you would think, around Christmas, New Year. Will that play a part?
Yeah, and it's going to change the complex of the race a lot. There wasn't much pressure yesterday in the race, so obviously iGrain had to go lead. Hopefully with the bigger fields, that's when you can see the good horses getting the right runs and behind, at the right weights. So definitely the compact racing coming into Christmas will really benefit a few of these horses.
Group honours yesterday were the Group 2 Kalai Suzu Stakes for the fillies and mares, weight for age 1600 metres. We take in this here, and the winner back in the field here, Bruce Beldenord, just her second win.
Yeah, extraordinary, isn't it? She hasn't won since a 2-year-old. She's been Group 1 place in the Sires Produce behind Melody Bell, and then a Levin Classic as a 3-year-old behind Age of Fire. 20 points out of the handicaps with Lizzie L'Amour. But a really good turn of foot off what was moderate tempo. Here's the closing stages.
Supera ranged up to take the lead now. Coming after Love Affair, Lizzie L'Amour. Out wide, Beldenord and Basu starting to weave its way through as well. What a battle here right across the track. And Beldenord's made the lead from Supera. Lizzie L'Amour still there. And Basu. It's Beldenord out wide for Vincent Colgan. And Beldenord won the Kalai Suzu. Second over was Lizzie L'Amour.
Again, small field, but right across the track there at the finish, Bruce. And was there anywhere playing better than anywhere else at Te Rapa yesterday? Have you noticed?
I'm just suspicious that the inside might have been a length slower, but it wasn't a negative at Te Rapa. So often it can play on pace, but this track played really well yesterday. They were winning from everywhere, and here's another example where they didn't go strong tempo, but the back marker still able to get home. Capricota setting up very gentle tempo in front. Nicoletta, one of the 3 from the Murray Baker stable outside. Lizzie L'Amour, it looked like they were more proactive today than they were in her previous start, putting her forward, but just with Superior getting caught out of it, she ends up drifting back probably further than Matt Cameron would have liked. But Lizzie L'Amour's right on target for Isabel Classic, the Group 1 on New Year's Day. Love Affair gets a nice run over on the inside. Basu back third to last on the inside, and Alicia travelled really well and looked a real chance in the race.
Yeah, at the 400 metres you probably would have been counting your money, but he sort of poked through at the 100 metres, and maybe the mile just travelled too good for the mile. Yeah,
it hasn't really shown to advantage at the mile in the past. Stretched right across the track, the 8 runners all with a hope with 200 metres to run, and it came down, it appears, to the horse with the better turn of foot, even off the slow tempo. Really good Beldenord to get home and run down. Lizzie L'Amour, who's racing well, Love Affair, and Superior, another coming out of a 72 benchmark race to run well in a Group 2.
Yeah, I mean, does that speak to the field, or does that speak to potential?
It's a bit of a bunch finish. I'm not sure Lizzie L'Amour is an absolute Group 1 horse at a mile, so just whether that is a little negative on the race. I know she won the race last year. Beldenord's probably going to wake up on Monday morning with a bit of a problem in the handicaps, given she was 20 points out of it here, and it'd be interesting to see what the handicapper does also with Superior, who was 26 points behind.
OK, let's hear from the winning connections of Beldenord.
Emily Brown, she was Group 1 placed as 3, and that must be really satisfying.
Oh, it's really good. You know, it's been a long time between wins. After the first win, we have taken a while to get her second one, and to get in a Group 2 is brilliant. We're so pleased for the owners. She
was running on really nice at Otaki last time in a race 1 off the front. You got back again today. Was that a concern?
Not really. More with her is track conditions. She needs it firm, and I've been watching the weather all week, and I've been watching that cloud over there, but we finally got the track that she really likes, and she showed a good turn of foot.
She should have been annoyed if that fire alarm had put us back into the rain then.
I was thinking about it, but no, I'm just so wrapped for the owners. You know, they've taken her to Australia, and she just keeps stepping up, and she's a really valuable broodmare now.
Where to next?
We're planning to sort of run her over Christmas, probably look at the Rich Hill Mile.
Group 2 success here. Just tell us about the run you got in transit.
Yeah, and look, I got a lovely run, 6 back. Honestly, I thought this horse would run well today. To be truthful, I was a bit disappointed with the fresh up run at down the line, but before that she had tried up brilliant 2 times, and I knew that if she had the right track today, that she was a big chance of winning.
Do you think they'd have been going strong enough up front for you to be able to unleash her?
I thought they were trying nice enough for me because I was travelling just comfortable, but I did get off the bridle a little bit turning for home, and I did get worried then. But once she got levelled up, she was pretty good to the finish.
Congratulations, Finny.
Thanks, Adam.
Vinnie Colgan there talking to Aidan Rodley after the win of Baldonorden, the Group 2 Kaloi Suzu. I see there's a half-brother by Jimmy Shue coming up at the New Zealand Bloodstock Sales, and Bruce, you know, those sorts of things, it's the best advertising.
Yeah, this close to the sales, it's perfect timing. The track played really well, Alicia.
Yeah, hearing words from most of the jockeys, they said before the rain come that the track is basically perfect. Perfect amount of giving it, wasn't too hard, and obviously they were running good times.
And they've had some dramas, so it's good to see that track, one of our premier tracks, back playing well. Absolutely. On the subject of the fire alarm, from what I've heard, it was a person of diminished capacity, and they're following up on that. I haven't heard any further this morning. Okay.
2 evacuations yesterday at Te Rapa, if you did miss that. In terms of the jockeys in that particular race, Jonathan Riddell was replaced by Michael Coleman. Jonathan was half a kilo over the 57 kilos allotted to Nicoletta. Let's hear from the jockeys in behind the winner.
Lizzie L'Amour, what'd you make of that?
Yeah, it was a super run. You know, she's obviously a horse who wants to go over 2,000 metres, but she's hitting those flat spots just before the turn, which making it a bit tricky. But you look ahead at Boxing Day, Isabel Classic. She's proven there before where she's gone well. So if you can break that run of seconds and get the Group 1 on Boxing Day, we'll be right. But I'm happy with where she's at.
Jason, what'd you make of that?
Very brave run from her. First time on that company. Spoke to Gary before the race, and we sort of instructed me to go forward on her today if she jumped well, which she did. So unfortunately she got caught a little bit wide and did a little bit of work, but just very brave effort from her, and she'll have a nice stakes win in her maybe later on in the autumn.
Opie, what'd you make of that?
She seemed to have every chance. She was a little bit hesitant trying to go through the gap, but she fought the line okay.
Andrew, what'd you make of that?
She travelled up really good on the corner. She ranged up within the 200 metres, but just didn't quite see out the mile today.
Which Alicia Collett and Bruce Sherwin had suggested, and Andrew Cord confirming there with Bisu. Bruce, what came out of your discussion with Andrew Forsman out of theirs, Kalasuzu?
Yeah, Lizzie L'Amour obviously heads towards the Zabeel Classic, the Weight for Age on New Year's Day, so she's going to be a great chance in that. She just looked to be peaking perfectly. Love Affair, little question where she goes, possibly the Ritual Mile.
Okay, so we've got more feature racing to look at Te Rapa, where Jonathan Riddell's slightly sour day becomes a whole lot sweeter, and also, yeah, fire and ice. It was a strange day at Te Rapa. Yes, that is the same venue that we showed at the top of the show. You wouldn't believe how the conditions changed. I'll tell you what, those tents, they weren't put up by me, because I put one up for the boys in the backyard yesterday. It was a lovely day and that disappeared. Some of those stayed up extremely well. Bruce, you're saying you don't live far away from
Te Rapa. 15 minutes from the track and never got a drop of rain.
Okay. Yeah.
Extraordinary.
Things are just so isolated at the moment, Alicia, and it must be troubling times for jockeys looking at the skies constantly.
Yeah, and a big thing for trainers as well. I suppose they're aiming on taking horses for a hard track somewhere, and then all of a sudden a situation like that happens. Half the day's perfect racing on a beautiful track, and next minute you're slogging it through and you can hardly see. So, yeah, it would be quite puzzling and annoying.
And we had the situation for this race that we're going to look at shortly, the J-Swap Contractors Sprint, where Stratocaster looked a good thing in the race the way his win was last time, and he's late scratched because of the downgrade in track conditions.
Yeah, so Emily and David Brown, they had the firm track that they wanted, obviously, for Baldonorden, and then this occurred, and had the fire alarms not happened...
this is an intriguing race. It was almost like the race that no one wanted to win. It's taken the closing stages.
Joined on the outside here by coming after them, Sultan of Swing, and down the outside also Save the Date at the 200 metres. Sultan of Swing made the lead for Magnum, who's giving plenty on the inside. Wider out, Save the Date. It's Sultan of Swing. Magnum is lifting again on the inside though. Magnum and Sultan of Swing as they go towards the post at the line. He's come again, Sultan of Swing, and I reckon he got up for Jay Riddell.
So that was the high point there for Jonathan Riddell, getting home over Jason. Jonathan Riddell over Jason Waddell, and Jason had ridden Sultan of Swing when it threw the race away at Gate Park.
It did. I reckon he tried to do it again here. He half pulled up, but and then also the connections of Magnum, they felt they got to the front too soon, and he's known to just have a look around when he reaches the lead too early. So it's an extraordinary race. A slow run home, 36.55, but of course that's after the rain, so hard to compare with the rest of the day. But Alicia, what's it like on a horse, say like Sultan of Swing? You know the ability's there and he's not giving you 100%.
It could possibly be one of the most frustrating things as a jockey. You have to time it to perfection, because if you get there that 2 strides too early, you feel the head come up and you do your best you can to try and get the horse over the line first, but it would definitely be the most frustrating things. And even watching the replay then, you see Magnum's inside ear just prick a little bit.
He's not
fully concentrating.
100%,
no,
yeah.
He thinks he's got the game covered, so it's definitely something as a jockey you really just want to... You got to work with horses well. You don't want to sit down and give them a couple of hard ones, but it's something that you have to do.
Good on Jonathan Riddell for getting him home.
Sultan of Swing, Rich Hill Mile for this horse, 1,600 metres.
That's the way it's looking. Yeah, we'll take a look. We'll hear from the connections shortly in regards to that.
Yeah, okay. Sean Ritchie, the successful trainer, he got a double on the day, and his dad Frank kicked it off as well. Let's hear from the winning connections after the feature sprint.
Geez, it was a brave effort, because it could have gone either way in the last couple of 100 metres. He's lifted, hasn't he?
He was. You know, Lauren and Mickey are good mates of ours, and it's a shame to beat them, but we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. It looked as though she'd sort of come back, or he'd come back on the inside of you, but it does show the pluck that your horse does, doesn't it?
Well, it's funny. You know, last time he threw it away. He was coasting in front, and he looked at the rail, and you raced like a green 2-year-old, you know, but obviously he's got it right today. Perhaps that other horse going with him, give him something to fight with. So that was lovely. The rain worried me. I wasn't sure he would handle the ground, but obviously they can still get their toe in, because he was dreadful in the Easter handicap on a heavy track.
What does he do now, Sean?
He'll go to the Rich Hill Mile probably. He's getting back and finding the line, so I'll let you try him over a mile now. He's a year older.
You enjoyed that one, Jonathan?
Oh, it's always good to ride a winner, and especially for Sean. He's been quite a big supporter of mine since I've been up here, so no, it's good.
You looked as though you'd got to the front easily. Then Magnum seemed to come back at you a little bit. Is that the case?
Yeah, George told me not to get there too early on him earlier today, and yeah, I had his words ringing in my ear when I did hit the front. He pulled up a bit and then managed to get back on the Magnum, but Magnum's a fair animal anyway.
Yeah, just tell us, how much does that rain affect the track conditions?
Well, it's a totally different track to what we were on, obviously. Look, it's safe enough to me. I was back and I could see where I was going, so yeah, safe.
Which was critical, obviously, vision a real issue when the conditions turn that bad. Bruce, I understand you've been having a chat with the ex-Singapore Galloper Magnum.
Yeah, he's going well, isn't he? Laura Brennan's husband, Mickey, I suppose we'd term him the strapper, the work boy. They're heading towards the Rich Hill Mile with him at this stage, and then onto a Thorndon Mile, a Group 1 target. And Mickey tells me, you heard it first, Joe Smith will be the next All Black coach.
Okay, good.
That's straight out of Ireland.
We could have opened with that. Did you have that scoop, Alicia?
No, I missed the bite on that one.
He's a character, Mickey, isn't he? Mickey
You were
Brennan.
as shocked as me. Cousin Sam into third there with Save the Date, who replaced Cameron Lammas, who'd got injured at Tauranga the night before.
Yeah, it was a really honest run too. You kind of thought halfway down the straight it might be able to come over top of the other ones, but just maybe the rain affected track might have stopped the sprint there.
Group 3 placing for her is of a huge benefit.
Yeah. And what, frustration continuing? You go for Scholar?
Well, he travelled nicely. They rode him a little quietly. He loomed up to win. And another out for him.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else in there? Donna Ann Billy drifted off?
I'm not sure it's a vintage Group 3 in terms of a sprinting race and where it sits going forward.
Okay. So they were the group races out of Tarapa. the Group 2 and 2 Group 3s. But, of course, as you'd imagine, on the undercard, something to look at, and particularly when we go to the 2-year-olds. And at the moment, what we do, Bruce, is look for the Te Akau colours.
Yeah, another Te Akau horse putting its hand up for a Karaka Million. He hadn't over and out himself leading into the race out of the trials, but he was really good. Quickening up nicely off moderate tempo, comes out and really like what he does in the closing stages, Alicia.
Yeah, he just knuckles down really well late. And I mean, Opie's only just nursing him to the line and he's still striding away, you know, and putting a couple of lengths on them.
So we've got Your Deal here, who probably, I think, speaking to Jamie, probably goes to the race 2 weeks out from the Karaka Million, a race he's used successfully in the past. Aotea Lad, the Group 2 winner last week. Probability looked terrific earlier in the spring, so another strong hand for them. Throw in Whiskey Neat from Otaki and Exuberant, the Savabeel. So there's 5 horses. It's looking like a terrific Karaka Million 2-year-old. What should you like to be riding, Alicia?
Probably Probability. Just be having a look around Ellersly's a massive thing. Yep. It's a track you can get very lost on 2-year-olds. And I like the way it hits the line. It's quite appealing. So definitely that one.
You're not just trying to get under Leith's neck with the Lindsays.
Never. Wouldn't do that.
The favourite was Mr. President, who sort of blew it at the start, really, as much as anything.
Just Leith said just wasn't the refined article yet. He's probably make a 3-year-old, but at this stage, just still a baby.
OK, well, Opie had the best seat in the house there with Your Deal. Let's hear from him.
Opie was a 2-year-old who took a bit of winding up at the trials, but today he seemed to be a lot more tractable.
Yeah, he was. He'd done everything spot on today. His trials, he'd get off them and wouldn't travel. And last start, I gave him a few around the backside, and he hit the line really good. So today, and then his work on Tuesday morning was top notch, and I was quite confident.
Yeah, he's been willing in each of those trials, and I guess the 1200 metres was going to be right up his alley today, wasn't it? Is 1200 metres going to be too short from Karaka Million time?
Not at this stage. He's if they run fast in the Karaka Millions, he can sit off them, and he's got a great finish and a nice turn of foot.
Certainly has, and we're looking forward to all of that 2-year-old action coming up. But, Bruce, one of the races I know you're thoroughly looking forward to is the Sistema Railway, and Bostonian, who we reviewed 3 weeks ago, making it 7 out of 10, had a track gallop of interest. Yeah, this is him in the Archer colours having a track gallop yesterday at Te Rapa prior to the rain. Vinnie Colgan, race day rider, who'll ride the horse in the Railways up, and he looked to hit out really nicely. In this particular outing, he hasn't run since the Counties Bowl, and he won't run till the Railway, but that's looking like one of the races of the carnival. We've spoken about how he's likely to go head-to-head with Melody Bell. We'll look at her barrier trial from earlier in the week, but a really nice hit out under race day conditions, stretching out nicely without being fully tested. And they got that in earlier in the day, which was beneficial. But just the trip to the races, the crowd, the people there, it just brings them on so much better than your standard track gallop. You mentioned Melody Bell, so we'll have a look at that winning trial here because Bostonian and Melody Bell are atop this market. Yeah, this is from Tiara earlier in the week, and as we come to expect from Melody Bell, she's had a great spring already, 2 Group 1s in the locker, and just coming up under her own steam out centre track. They wanted a more serious hit out than her first trial back, and this is what she got here as she cruises home to win this barrier trial. She's the favourite for the Railway, and no knock there, Alicia.
No, she deserves to be the favourite in the race from what she's achieved, and she's eased to the line pretty nice in that trial without doing too much to
Jamie Richards spoke with him last evening, could not be happier with the way she's going. She may have an exhibition gallop somewhere between now and New Year's Day before the Railway. Ferrando here, as we like to see of him out in front and rolling along, and really went nicely. Very quick horse, and if he strikes a firm track in a race like the Railway, he's going to give them something to run down, Alicia.
Depends what sort of weight he gets in that race. I mean, if he skips and gets to the front and chases that fence, he could be one that will take a lot to run down.
He's not the only Team Rogerson team that can run time on a fast track, as we'll see shortly, but even Recanto, the Stephen Marsh horse, he's heading the same way. He's gone great in second there, hitting the line really well. So a couple of really nice trials there from Tiaroa earlier in the week. 280 the market, is that too tight, Bruce? Oh, it is this far out. I don't think you want to be taking a fixed odds price that short this far out from a race like that. when she gets there, she's probably going to start closer to even money, but 2.8 with, well, you know what can go wrong in 24 hours with a horse, so it's a risk to take that sort of price that far out. Princess Kitadu sort of put the hand up last week, Sword of Osmond's at $14. Very good closing. Now, just Jamie Richards said Sword of Osmond, he's heading towards perhaps the Newmarket, the Hallmark Stakes on Boxing Day. He's not certain to run the Railway, but you kind of expect he's a 3-year-old, he's going against the older horses, so he might be just testing the water in a Newmarket, not certain to run in the Railway. Okay, well, you would have seen Gift of Power in there at $21 as well. And when we review the races from Awapuni yesterday, that horse just might show up. We put our cards on the table at Awapuni right after this.
Who got the power?
But away she goes. Queen of Diamonds is the Queen of Awapuni here. She's putting them to the sword. A brilliant winner from a late.
Murray Baker and Andrew Forsman have a Queen of Diamonds in their hand. They had a pretty special half hour actually, winning Group 3s at 2 venues, and both with horses bred by Sir Patrick and Lady Justine Hogan as well, as we look to the Lawnmaster Eulogy Stakes. And Bruce, the performance of the 3-year-old fillies over 1,550 metres, and Queen of Diamonds always looked to be travelling well, near enough to the pace.
Yeah, really good performance, this. It was very slowly run, and from the 1-1, from in the trailing position, she angles out near the turn in the China horse colours. Colours are Justify, the Triple Crown winner. She's come home in 33.46, virtually untouched.
Got a late behind them, Just Fabulous runs on, but away she goes. Queen of Diamonds is the Queen of Awapuni here. She's putting them to the sword. A brilliant winner from a late, and third of the line, I think, Just Fabulous from Rocket Fuel Sentimental Miss.
Bred in the purple, and yeah, she cost accordingly, Bruce.
Yeah, $640,000 yearling, so she's getting the job done. She's a granddaughter of Tristalove. It's a Savabeel Quinella and a coup for Waikato Studs team with the O'Reilly filly out of a Savabeel mare running third. So Savabeel's first and second, the O'Reilly Savabeel for third. Let's have a look at the replay. A very slow tempo, this sent up by Rocket Fuel. I'm not sure she runs the mile or the 1550 as it was yesterday. Got a very easy time of it in front. She still ran fourth in a Group 3, so creditable. Queen of Diamonds, the box seat tray. What a transformation this, Alicia, from a horse that got beaten in a Waverley maiden since they've put the blinkers on.
They would have been scratching their heads after that run at Waverley and been questioning what was happening, but then you don't really see horses like that at Te Rapa go away from them.
It was a brilliant win, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 lengths, just doing it easy with the blinkers
Beat
on.
Yamuna, who's come out and won since. A late, very good from the 1x1 in second. Savabeel filly out of a High Chaparral mare, so you'd have to think she's going to love a step up and trip. And the third placed was Just Fabulous, getting the Group 3 placing, but it's all about Queen of Diamonds and looks to have a fair bit in hand. Just a tap down the shoulder late, and yeah, as T. Lee says, way too good.
Bruce, Secret Allure was quite a tight second favourite there, but having settled at the back there with no real speed on,
had no chance the way the race was run. Just would have liked to have seen a wee bit more though.
Okay. That's the Lawnmaster Eulogy Stakes in the hands of Lisa Allpress, 8-race card, and she nailed 3.
You're probably chuckling to yourself a long way from home the way this race was run.
Yeah, I was just absolutely excited when I found out that I was actually on this horse. So, yeah, she's a good little filly, and I think she's going to go a long way.
Okay, there wasn't a lot of speed, and you got in the perfect position.
Yeah, it was easy, and she settled beautifully. She never even touched the bridle, and then when I asked her, she did actually make the corner a bit awkwardly, but once she straightened up, she ran away.
Yeah, she changed that lead leg and really let down quickly.
Yeah, she's really nice. Like across the top, Murray had said to me not to get stuck on the fence and work my way off, but I knew that Richie's horse in front would still take us a long way into the straight, and the one outside the leader was struggling a bit, so the gap was always going to come.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Lisa Allpress talking to Bevan Sweeney there after Queen of Diamonds took out the 3-year-old filly's feature at Awapuni. And did she come up in your discussion with Andrew Forsman?
Yeah, she did. She probably heads to the 8 carat as you would expect. So that's and the Royal Stakes possibly, the 26th, the Boxing Day and the New Year's Day backup. And of course with her breeding you'd be following the Filly of the Year series and perhaps an Oaks in the autumn.
Also on the card there was the Richhill Stud Manawatu Cup Prelude, with the Manawatu Cup itself sponsored by Hotel Coachman for 100,000, coming up at Group 3 level next Saturday. This, though, over 2,000 metres and taken out by Duplicity.
This is just about the ride of the day from all the races over the venues. Duplicity's back last on the inside. Danielle Hirony, what a great ride this is, Alicia.
It would never have won. If she had to go around another horse, it would never have run. Sit there being patient. Beasley put the pressure on. He had the weight, so he needed to get rolling because there was no chance of him sitting sprinting.
Yep.
And I mean, if she just went around a horse, it was actually quite nice to watch.
Yeah, it was pretty to watch. Let's take in the closing stages.
Here, Hinarangi after it. Scandalo Duplicity is starting to dive through closer to the inside, but it's Peso in front. Big Hinarangi and Duplicity right up on the inside. It is flying. Duplicity gets there from Peso and Hinarangi, and then either
trained by Ashley Meadows. Duplicity home there is an $18 shot for the Wellington Cup come January. Over Peso, who was in that City of Auckland Cup at $41, and for Paul Nelson, probably encouraging signs there after that previous miss, Bruce.
Yeah, there's going to be different setup at the weights. He was a rating 90 with the top weight 60 kilos. Spoke with Ashley Meadows this morning on the way up. He's a nephew of Kevin Myers and Angela Ilston and does a really good job with his horses. As we've seen here, getting a horse back from a 2 mile at Riccarton to win like this. He's not sure he'll back up next week. He's looking more towards the Martin Cup, as it's not a penalty race for the Wellington Cup, which is his target.
Yeah. Been looking at horses coming from all parts to win, Alicia, which is really encouraging. I mean, we talk a lot about tracks, track bias, track surfaces, but it's nice to sit down and review some races like this where they can come from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pleasing to see. It gives you a little bit of confidence if you're on a back marker watching these sort of horses winning, so then you can ride a race and get the from behind.
Well, from the stayers, we really want to have a look at a horse who really turned on some horsepower, broke a track record, ran 107.46. Bruce, Gift of Power. This was like a track gallop, but it's a serious time.
I think we'll just cross to the call, Tony Lee.
Opened them up by 3 from Rockin' Affair, who's going to try and chase it down. Resurrect over on the outside, and then Henny making good ground, but have a look at her go, Gift of Power, and she's been gifted with any amount of it. Have a look at her, put it to them. Henny's running on the outside of Resurrect, Rockin' Affair the inside, but boy oh boy, she has been simply way too good. Henny second, 10 lengths away, and then
One of two winners there for Team Rogerson, and that was a T. Lee special, way too good.
Way too good. Yeah, 107.46, I think, as fast as you'll see anywhere outside of the straight courses at Riccarton and Trantham. Last 600, 33.39. She got the soft lead and she just smashed them. It's not often you see them win by 10.5 lengths. Where does she sit going towards a railway, though?
Well, she's at $21 in the market. If you were looking at longer, you could certainly do worse, couldn't you, Alicia?
Yeah, you could certainly do worse. She's got tactical speed. She might not be able to go the other way around. I don't think she goes the best. She's more of a left-handed horse. But yeah, you definitely would take the money if you could. After that one, anyway.
Yes. Well, in the saddle was Lisa Allpress. Let's hear from her.
Well, she's been a top-level horse through the last season, but she seems to have gone to another level across the last 2 starts.
Yeah, Bevan, that was pretty exciting today, 107.5, and I think the track's rated a dead 4, but it probably is really riding like a good 2. But, you know, she got there, she was slightly slow away, she just came out just a little bit awkward, a little bit back on the gate when they opened, and I think that sort of, yeah, she sort of took a bit to get her legs, but then once she did, she just flew, and I think the key to her is really like letting her stride out across the top, because once she gets into momentum, she just maintains it.
Did it feel that quick?
Yeah, it did feel quick, but I know that she, you know, she has been beaten on the line before, so you sort of got to try and still keep them up to their work.
Okay, Group 1 sprinting horse?
Oh, definitely, you know. I think they're going to have a crack at the Railway and the Telegraph, although, yeah, I'm not sure of those plans 100%, but, yeah, I'll be looking forward to be a part of that.
And, yeah, the Telegraph into $10 means, Bruce, that people are saying, well, probably that way around is better.
Yeah, that looks like it, doesn't it? $31 into 10 for the Telegraph. Interesting setup because they've got Ferrando and Gift of Power, both very similar sort of horses. High speed, top of the speed and run time on good tracks.
Yeah. Alicia, horses that are better one way or the other, is it obvious when you're in the saddle?
Yeah, it is. When they're coming around the corner, you can feel them quite getting imbalanced, and they come around the corner, they change legs, and they just don't lengthen like they should. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of horses that...
They seem to have a natural preference, don't they?
Yes, a natural leg that they like to lead on. And it's interesting when you ride a horse in a straight race, you can feel that also. You can feel which way they're going to bear out towards when they do change onto that correct leg.
Yeah, it's like me going reverse way round on a bicycle, and it's not pretty. We have had 5 thoroughbred meetings in the last couple of days. We've got another today, and we will cover the country right after this. Deep south there, Ascot Park in Invercargill. Christmas at the races coming there, and a terrific day, a terrific crowd. And Stephen Blair-Eddy, Riverton trainer, he trained 3 winners on the day. He got 2 at Wingatui the night before. The 3 yesterday were ridden by Amlis Bowerun. He's from Mauritius, he's 28, he's been here for about 3 seasons, so some real opportunities in the south. Alicia, Michael Pittman was writing about actually in the Informant, the opportunities if people would want to base themselves in the south, particularly for senior jockeys.
It is, and it's an opportunity to improve your riding as well. You're riding so much, and you get an opportunity to ride horses that have decent chances. For apprentices down there, they do get the opportunities from the trainers too. They eat away at their claim a little bit too much with not learning enough quickly. But they get the opportunities down there, and they get the momentum that they need.
And different tracks too.
It is. It's all left-handed racing, but it's completely different. Like it's, how to explain it? You've got Timaru, and then you've got to ride Christchurch, which is a completely different track, and it teaches them a lot. It does.
Okay. The race that we're going to take a look at, the AWS Legal Southland Crystals, over 2,150 metres. It was taken out by Gallant Boy over a Stephen Blair-Eddy trained runner, but this is Brian and Shane Anderton and a typical White Robe Lodge breed by Gallant Guru out of a personal escort mare.
Yeah, and the country's leading apprentice, Corey Campbell in the saddle. It was a track that played very much on pace, up and in, as I'd say, up on the rail and towards the lead, but they did go very hard in this. Come Fly With Me does a good job to box on, but Gallant Boy too good.
On the run home, Come Fly With Me on the inside, Shentav, and back on the inside, Tanny Far for the minor money, but Gallant Boy too good. Gallant Boy will beat Come Fly With Me, Shentav, fourth over is who.
And with 3 meetings in the country, the jockeys spread a bit thin too. I thought they might struggle for numbers running a day after Wingatui there, but they didn't. They had good numbers across 10 and 9 race cards alternatively there. But Gallant Boy comfortably in front there of Come Fly With Me, Bruce.
Yeah, this is win number 10 for the son of Gallant Guru. He's been a good servant. As I said, the track paid on pace. He got going earlier. Come Fly With Me's fought back well after running and getting plenty of pressure up front. So she's run well. Yeah, not a lot further.
No, Corey Campbell's going extremely well in the south. Let's hear from him.
Gee, the words of the old master, Brian, I'm sure ringing in your ear most of the way there, but you got the job done.
Yeah, you know, I probably went a little bit too soon on him. I probably could wait a bit longer, but he's just a very classy horse.
Yeah, you look to be travelling very well most of the way. You must have been pretty impressed the way he hit the line.
Yeah, no, he just relaxed perfectly, dropped a bit and fell asleep. And then, you know, when I got a bit busy on him down Finley Road, he was just doing handstands, and, you know, I always knew he was going to be the winner from there.
Well, 24 winners for the season now. You're still the country's top apprentice. I hope it keeps going.
Yeah, hopefully. You know, very thankful to Brian and Shane for giving this amazing opportunity to ride for them, and all the owners that have put me on. I'm just very, very privileged to be where I am.
He's in great hands. Among the plethora of racing we've had this week was a real buzzy twilight meeting by all accounts from those who were there at Ellerslie with the World Jockeys Cup. And Corey Campbell, well, you know, there's discussion that he perhaps could have been there, should have been there.
Yeah, it was well worded by Jason Waddell on trackside on that Thursday. He didn't make the apprentice team. It is selected. We had Wiremu Pin, Ryan Elliott, Sam Weatherly in the apprentices, so it's tough, him being the leading apprentice and missing out.
And it would have been a fantastic opportunity for him to go ride at Ellerslie, ride against some amazing jockeys, obviously in the likes of Tommy Berry coming over. He would have, you know, he would have taken a lot away from the day. So he probably did deserve it. He's well in front of every other jockey in New Zealand, apprentice in New Zealand at the moment. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him there. Just unlucky.
There's always going to be some tough calls, though, aren't there, in this situation?
Yeah, there always.
What do you make of the Jockeys World Cup concept?
Great concept. Hate the colours.
Right.
2 years in a row.
Might come up.
They just merged. They just all look the same. We had a winner earlier in the night, Sacred Day. I had to go back and watch the replay a couple of times to see where he actually went to in the race. So, the only person on the course who knew where the horses were was George Simon. And even then, as a commentator, you can just detect he's not 100% confident. And if you're not confident as a caller, you're not going to bring the absolute 100% colour to the race.
Concentrate so hard.
You concentrate on getting them right, because that's the first key, get them right. Well done to the apprentices. Here's the team. Ryan Elliott had a terrific night, won 3 of the 6. Wiremu Pin got a winner as well, so it was the young guns that cleaned up, but they just need more distinction in these colours. They're just too close together.
Where do we go? Do we go with a full block of colours? I mean, you are a commentator, Bruce, so what would you like to see?
Yeah, just very distinct colours, and as we spoke with in the green room prior, maybe one jockey says a base colour, a strong colour for the night. One's a red, one's a pink, one's a green, and you know exactly where they are.
Dare I say it, like the dogs?
Yeah.
I mean, as a jockey going out there, I find it hard. Last year I rode against it, and
Who do you follow?
Yes, and you can't actually see the top of their caps when you're from behind sometimes.
Of course, yeah.
So
good point.
You really just sort of, you do as much form as you possibly can, and you just have to know which jockey it is on that certain horse for that race. So you've got to keep coming back in and redoing your form, and just it is a difficult one because you know the local trainers and what their colours are. So it is a very difficult one.
So that wouldn't necessarily be helped by one block colour, but it would certainly help the audience and clearly, you know, George and whoever's coming.
But a great concept. I was saying before about how Wiremu Pin had ridden our horse, Sacred Day, and at the 800 metres, you've got Tommy Berry outside him. He's wanting room, and Tommy said to him, hey, just wait, just wait. So riding against jockeys like that's got to be good for our young talent.
Without a doubt. Well, they are racing again at Ellerslie this afternoon, the first of 8 from 2:10. The feature race, though, is this. It's the Barfoot and Thompson Selva over the 2100 metres, and for some, a stepping stone potentially to the Vodafone Derby in March.
Yeah, Cutter Deals looked a really good horse, another by Dundee. We saw the 2-year-old yesterday. He was 6th in the Hawke's Bay Guineas, and then he beat the older horses last time. He's a $2 favourite, $2.40 favourite, deserving favourite. I'd have him clearly on top. Swords Drawn was very good in the Wellington Stakes. On breeding, he's going to love the 2100 metres, being by Camelot out of Isabel Mere. Don't mind the horse that's off Raffles Farm, Heavenly Emperor. He's only a maiden, but he will like the track. But I think very hard to beat Cutter Deal. Here is him winning at Te Rapa, and this is a really good effort when a 3-year-old can step out against the older horses under handicap conditions, Alicia.
It's always something you want to look forward to riding as a 3-year-old against older horses in a straight maiden because it's so much more competitive.
He's in these turquoise colours and he hasn't even had the clearest of runs.
He looks raw too.
Yeah, so he looks like he's going to love the trip as well, as you would expect by Dundee, and he's out of a Dylan Thomas mare. He's beating the older horses, benchmark 65 from off the speed. Raw, promising and really good on the line, and the 240's looking very appealing.
Okay, 5:46, Barfoot and Thompson Selva there, $50,000 race over the 2100 metres. Coming shortly, a few points to ponder to finish.
Goes to Chris Waller.
The winner is Chris Waller.
The TJ Smith Award, of course, for this year goes to our leading trainer, Chris Waller.
And the winner of the TJ Smith Award is Chris Waller.
Cometh the hour, cometh the legend. Greatness, Weeks has done it. It's Equine Utopia.
won a few awards in the Thoroughbred Code, hasn't he, Chris Waller? But what about in the wider sporting arena? Well, the Hellberg nominations are out, and Chris Waller is among the nominations for the Coach of the Year. Alicia, you've been part of the Waller camp before. This is tremendous to see some wider recognition for racing.
It's huge, and I think it's well deserved too. I mean, he has a massive team behind him. He's got an army of staff there that are to professionalisms everywhere. He's got satellite stables in 4 different regions. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And when you're in his team, I mean, everything changes around you. Everything just, you know, goes from one level to the next. And that's what he does to people. It's
one of the great stories, isn't it, Bruce?
It is, yeah. From the humble beginnings to where he is today. Nomination for the Bundle Finlay Coach of the Year, nomination on with Joe Smits and the likes. And recognition in the wider sporting community as well.
James McDonald was nominated for Sportsman of the Year in 2014, Dexter Dunn in 2015 as well, at the harness industry. Be nice for some of these nominations to make the finalists. That would give us an extra push again.
Absolutely. The job he's done with Winks, and you were saying before that you actually rode her early on in the track.
Yeah, I suppose when you're over there, you get the opportunity to ride some very good Group 1 horses, even just riding them track work or at the trials, just to get to sit on these elite horses when you're an apprentice is something that you always sort of remember. So
Winks back at the stable earlier the week, this tweeted by Waller Racing towards the end of this week, and an announcement on our autumn program to be forwarded in the coming week.
The thing about Chris Waller, the snapshots I have in my mind, chasing him around at Riccarton when he was looking after the Paddy Bissutton barn, and he was relatively reluctant to talk, keen enough, you know. But at that stage, he had his mind on other things. Seeing him at Sandown in a prelude to a Melbourne Cup, that was at the stage where he was having to work for everything, work the room, try and find some connections, and doing a good job of it when he was getting established. And then the last Melbourne Cup I was at in 2015, the last thing he wants to be doing is talking to a Central Districts Greyhound commentator on Derby Day when he's got all these things to do, and we have restrictions about where we can film, so I have to take him out and past the public and into an area where we can film, and he just does that for you.
Yeah, he hasn't changed for all the success. No. He's a terrific human being.
Yeah. So that's Chris Waller, and we wish him well and hope that that nomination can become a finalist. Now, we've been sort of suggesting over the past few weeks that things are relatively quiet regarding the Masara report, but that changed a little bit this week, Bruce, with the Racing Industry Ministerial Advisory Committee being announced.
Yeah, the prelude to Rita is the MAC, the Ministerial Advisory Committee. The Chair, Dean McKenzie, current NZTR board member, former CEO Addington Raceway and Jade Stadium. Bill Burney was made a companion of New Zealand Order of Merit last year. He's an investment banker and a current racing board member. Liz Dawson, also made a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to sports governments last year. She's an Olympic Committee deputy chair, a New Zealand Cricket Board member and a former NZRB member. Kirsten McDonald QC, previous chair of the JCA and chair of Kiwi Fruit New Zealand. And Sir Peter Valla, we know an officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit in 2002 for services to racing and the owner of New Zealand Bloodstock.
And they're looking to put a report back at the end of February. And Bruce, you know, given we're halfway through December and New Zealand kind of shuts down for 4 weeks, it's a tough time of the year for them, really.
It is indeed, yeah. That first interim report due February 2019. And the committee being created as a precursor to the establishment of RITA, the Racing Industry Transitional Authority, to get us from the Racing Board to Wagering New Zealand. And it'll work in unison with the Racing Board at the present time. Okay.
Another thing that caught our eye this week is a ban upcoming in New South Wales for jockeys, agents betting. It's being proposed to start in the new year, around March. Now, at the moment, it's very specifically New South Wales, which is probably going to throw up a few conundrums of its own, Bruce.
Well, yeah, what do we get when, for example, a Victorian jockey travels to Sydney to ride? It's been a big news week, hasn't it? And this was out of left field, but I've spoken to people close to the Turf Club. They suggest it's been coming for a while. Back in April, racing managers were warned to be careful in what they're doing, and it came to a head in the Rahiran case recently, when the jockey's agent of Rahiran, he has a tipping service, and while he tipped Rohirrim on top, the second choice in the race, he rated 5.5 and the odds were available at $10. So it was technically an overlay, but that was the final straw, I think. From what I'm hearing, they don't want professional punters managing 3 or 4 jockeys, especially when things get light through the winter. There's been red flags flashing. It's not. It's a fix to New Zealand. It's pretty important to have managers, especially this time of year.
Yeah, and especially over in Sydney over there, like how they're going to decide which horses they want to ride. I know Jason for a fact he would probably be lost if he didn't have a manager. He doesn't know where these horses are going, what weights they're going to be getting. And also with form, like they do their form for them, they help them with where they're going to ride the horses. And I think that's a little bit that come up with this issue too.
Okay, Alicia, we have to wrap up the show now. You going crazy yet with all of these racing opportunities and you're having to sit on the couch?
No, it's actually just nice to have a summer off, I think.
Excellent. And Bruce, too much racing for you? Are you happy with it?
No, looking forward to it, especially that Harley Davidson race tonight. Race 6 tonight at the Twilight meeting. The winning trainer gets a Harley Davidson. Stephen Marsh has entered 4. Tony Pike's got 2. Bob Vance has entered half his racing team too. That'll be the race, could be the Melbourne Cup of our season.
It could well, and you'd look good on one too, Bruce. Thanks to Alicia Collett, to Bruce Sherwin this morning on the way in. Be another team back next week.